Initiatives to promote best practice throughout the care sector are always valuable, and Heathcotes Group welcomes the introduction of the Restraint Reduction Network Training Standards 2019. The approach advocated by the RRN training standards shares many characteristics with Heathcotes' existing model for positive behaviour support, otherwise known as PBS. We have introduced a group-wide implementation program to formalise our compliance throughout the organisation. PBS is a person-centred approach to supporting people who display or are at risk of displaying behaviours of concern. PBS involves understanding the reasons for behaviour and considering the person as a whole, including their life history, physical and emotional needs. We use this understanding to implement ways of supporting them. PBS focuses on creating physical and social environments that are supportive and capable of meeting people's needs and teaching people new skills to replace the behaviours which challenge. Challenging behaviour always happens for a reason, and it may be the person's only way of communicating an unmet need. PBS helps us understand the reason for the behaviour, so we can better meet the people's needs, enhance their quality of life, and reduce the likelihood of that behaviour happening. PBS is a value-based approach. The 5 core values of PBS are inclusion, participation, opportunity, choice, and equality. These 5 values are closely aligned with the core values of Heathcotes Group: empowering, supportive, teamwork, development, quality, and person-centred. The Human Rights Act of 1998 sets out the fundamental rights and freedoms that everyone in the UK is entitled to. These rights must be at the centre of the decision-making process for the people we support. It is important to adopt a clear thinking and methodical approach to human rights. It is important to establish what are the important facts that need to be understood and how the individual feels. Having established the facts, we analyse which human rights are at risk. We then identify responsibilities, in other words, what needs to be done and who needs to do it. Having identified the responsibilities, we recommend actions and evaluate the results. Whilst it is recognised that many services provide person-centred therapeutic care across the UK, there have been many shocking scandals exposing the unnecessary and inappropriate use of restrictive interventions. At the end of 2018, the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care asked the Care Quality Commission to look at the use of restrictive interventions. As an organisation, Heathcotes Group have supported the Care Quality Commission's review through work at our Parkview service. Our work with CQC is now being implemented throughout our group. To understand the role of PBS in care, it helps to picture yourself in a situation that might be similar to the people you support in your care role. For example, imagine you were in a car accident and became severely disabled as a result. What would you find most frustrating about your condition? What things would be most important to you? Now imagine how you would feel if you heard the following responses to the use of restrictive practices in response to your own behaviour. Would you feel that your needs and feelings were understood and acknowledged? PBS is designed to avoid this mindset in care practice. Empathy with service users is important to achieve this. A behavioural analysis known as the assault cycle is vital in planning PBS. To understand the assault cycle, imagine a baseline that represents the general day-to-day of behaviours. A trigger can cause a change in a baseline behaviour. If we're not able to identify the trigger, then the behaviours may result in an escalation. At this point, there is a danger of the service user experiencing a crisis. A crisis requires a reactive strategy to assist a recovery. Some service users may experience periods of depression after a behaviour. An understanding of each service user's assault cycle can help us to create person-centred PBS plans. Heathcotes has introduced a full range of documentation to support PBS planning and practice. These include the new PBS plan and the implementation of our intensive support team across the organisation. The Intensive Support Team is a dedicated clinical resource available across all of our organisation, supporting PBS training and practice. In PBS, it is vital to assess the function of challenging behaviour, including functional analysis and other methods of assessing behavioural functions. We need to look at why behaviours happen. In doing this, it is useful to consider 4 functions of behaviour, expressed as SEAT: sensory, escape, attention, tangible. Sensory provides preferred sensory experience. It is a behaviour that feels good to do. It can happen anytime, even when alone, and especially when anxious. Escape removes undesired activities or interactions. It happens when a task is too hard, too easy, too boring, or too scary. Attention provides access to people or interactions. It happens when someone desires social interaction. Tangibles provide preferred items or activities. It happens when someone wants a preferred item or activity. These 4 functions are fundamental to the understanding, planning, application of PBS. Debriefing is vital to ongoing improvement in our understanding of PBS. Debriefing should not be a paper exercise. Instead, it should be an opportunity to reinforce company values, praise positive actions, and address any areas of concern. Staff need to feel listened to, supported, and praised. They need to have their issues addressed. If you aren't running your team, someone else is. Service users also need to feel listened to, supported, and praised. They also need to have their issues addressed. Remember, you are morally and legally responsible for what happens in your service. Debriefing is vital to the safe and effective provision of care support in all its forms. Reflection should be part of our debriefing procedure. We must reflect on what went well, what didn't go well, and what we learned. We need to be honest. If something undesirable happened or if something didn't work, it's always important to talk about it. We need to be open in sharing of good practice and the discussion of our mistakes in order to learn from them. We need to have a willingness to change our strategies and viewpoint, especially if it is detrimental to the service user. This is how a debrief forms the basis of a review. Reviews are vital to ensure that our strategies are working. If they aren't working, then we need to be willing to change them. At the heart of PBS is a commitment to understanding the rights and needs of our service users, their feelings and behaviours, and the continual improvement in how we work to support them in a positive manner. Heathcotes have a team of dedicated PBS practitioners available to provide specialist support and expert advice and training.